30,000 years ago, inside the freezing, unforgiving heart of the last glacial maximum, a solitary human fought the ultimate psychological war against nature. You are Gavin, an ancient human hunter lying completely isolated inside a pitch-black stone cave. Outside the jagged entrance, the sub-zero Arctic winds howl relentlessly, mixing with the distant, terrifying roars of giant Pleistocene apex predators hunting in the dark. The solitary campfire that kept Gavin warm throughout the evening has finally died out, leaving nothing behind but a few fading, glowing embers. You wrap yourself tighter inside your heavy, coarse mammoth hides, slowly closing your eyes as you drift into a deep sleep. In this exact moment, your muscles completely relax. Your conscious mind vanishes, and you become entirely defenseless against a brutal world. Biologically speaking, a sleeping prehistoric human body, lacking any modern weapons or active defenses, should be the absolute easiest, most effortless meal a wild carnivore could ever ask for. Any pack of hungry cave wolves or a solitary saber-toothed cat could easily end your life with a single swift bite. Yet evolutionary history and modern cognitive ecology reveal a staggering illogical anomaly. Unless a prehistoric apex predator is severely injured, dying of starvation, or afflicted with rabies, it almost never attacks a human camp while the occupants are fast asleep. In fact, if a wild predator stumbles upon Gavin lying completely motionless in the dirt, its primitive survival instinct is not to spring forward and attack. Its immediate reaction is to freeze in fear, become unsettled, and slowly back away into the shadows. What exactly built this invisible, yet incredibly impenetrable wall of defense around our ancient ancestors? We often naively assume that wild animals are simply afraid of the leftover smell of smoke, or perhaps they sense hidden, primitive traps laid around the perimeter. But the psychological reality is far stranger and darker, buried deep within the evolutionary software of the animal kingdom. When a giant Ice Age predator looks down at the unmoving body of Gavin on the cave floor, its predatory brain completely fails to recognize him as an item of prey. Instead, the strange physical layout of a sleeping human triggers a deep, ancient biological warning system. This warning fills the predator's mind with an intense instinctual dread, causing it to hesitate in the dark. In the Paleolithic wilderness, humans always slept covered under thick animal pelts or curled tightly inside piles of dried leaves and heavy natural hides. These natural materials drastically suppress the infrared heat signature radiating from the human body. The familiar, distinct scent of an upright primate is heavily altered, and all recognizable limbs like arms and legs are completely hidden from view. To a hunting wolf or a massive cave bear stepping into the quiet clearing, Gavin no longer possesses the biological silhouette of a primate. You do not look like a deer, an elk, or any familiar prey animal listed on their evolutionary menu. Before their eyes, you appear only as a massive, featureless, horizontal lump, an ambiguous shape that does not fit the natural order of their world. In the brutal, unforgiving economy of prehistoric nature, apex predators are designed by evolution to be incredibly risk-averse. Attacking an unidentified, unknown object in the dark is a massive gamble that could easily result in a broken bone or a fatal injury. To a wild predator, an ambiguous, unrecognizable shape is never viewed as food. It is viewed as a highly dangerous trap. But what happens if the curious predator takes a few cautious steps closer and realizes that this strange, texturized lump is actually a living, breathing entity? This is the exact moment where the true psychological horror for the wild animal begins to take over. It is a profound mental conflict between its basic predatory drive and a deep-seated fear of the biologically unnatural. Consider how typical prey animals like Ice Age horses or megafauna deer sleep in the wild to understand the stark contrast. They constantly twitch their ears rhythmically, chew, or shift their physical weight to remain alert. Even when resting, wild prey animals experience incredibly light, hypervigilant sleep cycles, waking up every few minutes to frantically scan the horizon for looming danger. Human beings, however, behave in the exact opposite manner, due to a unique evolutionary trait known as prolonged REM sleep. During this deep REM phase, the brain of Gavin completely paralyzes the skeletal muscles to prevent the body from physically acting out dreams. We lie perfectly unsettlingly still, resembling an inanimate object rather than a living creature. For hours at a time, the prehistoric hunter breathes in slow, mechanical, deeply rhythmic intervals without a single muscle twitch. To a wild apex hunter, this state of absolute, profound stillness lacks all natural context in a world where everything moves. When encountering a large creature that breathes but remains completely motionless, the predator's primitive brain plunges into a natural version of the uncanny valley. In the predator's reality, a large creature that does not tremble, does not react to the loud cracking of nearby twigs, and does not wake up when approached, does not look asleep. It looks dead. Or significantly worse, it looks like an apex entity that is intentionally playing a calculated game. This absolute lack of fear shatters the predator's confidence entirely. Many apex predators, particularly wild felines of the Pleistocene, are biologically hardwired to refuse to consume carrion, dead, rotting flesh, in order to avoid lethal bacteria. If you look completely dead and motionless, a massive big cat instantly loses all predatory interest. Your lack of movement overrides their hunger, causing them to view you as useless, decaying matter. However, if their hypersensitive sense of smell reveals that Gavin is indeed alive, yet completely unbothered by their terrifying presence, a horrifying realization sets in. The predator's ancestral brain automatically assumes that this entity is an absolute apex threat, a creature so incredibly powerful and dominant that it possesses zero fear of the pitch-black night. The deep sleep of a human being inadvertently becomes a display of supreme evolutionary dominance, a masterclass in psychological manipulation. The final and most powerful layer of defense, keeping ancient predators at bay, is our unique chemical signature. When a human is awake and suddenly encounters a predator, the brain immediately releases a massive flood of panic hormones. Predators can easily smell this chaotic cocktail of adrenaline and cortisol from downwind, which instantly validates their dominance and encourages them to attack. But when Gavin is locked in a deep, restorative sleep, his adrenaline levels crash to their absolute lowest biological baseline. Your nervous system enters a state of profound, peaceful, and emotionless calm. When an Ice Age wolf sniffs around the sleeping area of an ancient human, it does not detect the chemical signature of a panicked, fleeing prey animal. It smells a completely unbothered baseline creature. In the predator's evolutionary memory, the only creatures that emit zero fear chemicals in the deep dark of night are other terrifying, massive megafauna apex predators. Animals like the giant short-faced bear or a massive silverback gorilla possess this exact same lack of fear. The predator's brain quickly runs a biological diagnostic. This object has an unnatural shape. It does not flinch. It breathes like a machine, and it smells completely indifferent to my presence. The animal's survival software immediately overrides its hunger to protect itself. The ancestral survival software convinces the predator that stepping on this sleeping entity will unleash a violent, completely unpredictable monster. This is not a mere theoretical hypothesis. It is a documented reality, observed throughout the history of human survival. We see this exact same phenomenon occurring in the few remaining hunter-gatherer societies left on Earth today. Consider the real-world example of the Hunza people, one of the last remaining genuine hunter-gatherer tribes in East Africa. They frequently sleep out in the open air on primitive rock shelves, protected by nothing more than a flimsy, symbolic barrier of thorny brush. Surrounding their sleeping camps is the undisputed territory of prides of hungry lions and leopards. Anthropologists and wildlife biologists have noted that for centuries, the rate of nocturnal predator attacks on the Hadza while they are fast asleep is virtually zero. Lions regularly stalk near the camps, sniff the air from a short distance, and then quietly retreat back into the bush. They are utterly subdued by the absolute stillness and the lack of fear chemicals. Another profound historical example comes from the ancient reindeer hunters who inhabited the frozen tundras of Siberia thousands of years ago. When caught in sudden, violent blizzards, these hunters would wrap themselves tightly in heavy reindeer skins and allow themselves to be buried deep under the snow. Hungry wolfpacks would run directly over them, smelling their calm breath, yet never dared to dig them up. Through this extraordinary journey into the ancient prehistoric night, we uncover a profound, timeless lesson about life, survival, and our own modern minds. True strength and power do not always come from constantly fighting, screaming, or projecting aggression outward to prove your worth to a hostile world. True power comes from your internal stillness, the rare ability to maintain absolute calm and emotional stability, even when the deepest darkness surrounds you. Your silence and confidence can force the chaotic pressures and anxieties of life to naturally retreat. An unspoken, deep-seated confidence is the ultimate weapon against any storm. Have you ever experienced a moment where you felt overwhelmed by fear, only to realize that the danger vanished the moment you found your inner calm? Do you believe that in our loud, chaotic modern world, silence and absolute emotional stability can be your greatest source of power? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a conversation.